class. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 3. We're going to be doing problem 16. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I've created an Excel spreadsheet because I thought it would be a little bit easier to talk to you about this particular problem. So we're going to be the Yeoman Company, and we're a monthly depositor. That's very important. Notice I underlined that so you would be able to see that we are going to be a monthly depositor. So if we're a monthly depositor, we need to be able to file our form by the 15th day of the next month. The tax liability is going to be for June, the month of June, or actually this is the date that they're going to be talking to you about here. The amount of the deposit is going to be $3,930. And they're asking you, what is the due date for the deposit of these taxes? So it's going to be the 15th day of the month following June. And so that would be July 15th as the due date for this deposit. In part 2, they want you to assume that no deposit was made until August the 2nd. Remember, it was due on July the 15th, and so it's going to be 18 days late to August the 2nd before they actually made that deposit. And what they want you to do is they want you to compute the following penalties. And we have to assume that there's a 365-day year in your computations. So what you need to do is you need to look at the rule in your textbook where it talks about late deposits. And I'll get my textbook out here, see if I can find the actual page where that is, so you can refer back to it in your textbook. So if you'll bear with me just a second, I didn't have my textbook opened to that point in time, but let me get on that page so you'll know where to look. And it's over on page 332. They have a listing of deposits that were made after their due date. And if you look on the table that's on page 332, you can see that if the deposits are made 16 or more days late, it will be 10% of the undeposited taxes that they're going to charge you as a penalty. And that's for the failure to make timely deposits. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our $39.30, that's the amount of taxes that we should have paid on July the 15th. But since we were 18 days late, they're going to charge us a penalty of 10%. So we multiply $39.30 times 10%, and that will give you a penalty of $393 for it being more than 16 days late. In part B of number 2, they want you to calculate the penalty for failure to fully pay the tax. So if they did not fully pay the tax, the full amount of the tax deposit should have been $39.30. there's going to be a 0.5% penalty on that deposit amount. And this is the penalty for failure to fully pay the tax. It's 0.5%. So we're going to multiply 3930 times 0.005. Notice this is 0.5%. So if you change it to a decimal, you move it 2 places back to the left, and the decimal number for 0.5% is 0.005. If you multiply that by the deposit, the penalty is $19.65. In Part C, they want you to calculate the interest that is due on the taxes. Part C. The interest due on the unpaid amount, and they want you to assume a 6% interest rate. So to find the interest, we're going to take the principal and multiply it by the interest rate and multiply it by the time. And the time is in yearly days of 365. The principal of this deposit is the total amount of the deposit that should have been made. It should have made $39.30, and it should have been at July the 15th. The interest rate was 6%, so I converted it to a decimal. You're going to multiply the deposit times the interest rate and times the time. Notice I used 18 days out of 365 days because this 6% is assumed to be an annual rate of interest. It was 18 days late because they told you that they did not pay it until August the 2nd, which was 18 days later. So they're charging interest from the time it was due until the time that they made the payment. So 3,930 times 6% times 18 days divided by 365 gives you $11.63. So if you were late in paying that $39.30, depending on the amount of time it's late, will depend on whether it's a 10% penalty, and it could be different depending on how many days late it was. But if it's over 16 days, then we got socked with the 10% penalty that we found in the first part of this problem. We also got socked with the penalty for failure to fully pay the tax of $19.65 that we found here. And the interest that we were charged for it being late was this. You can see all three of these together stacks up to be pretty hefty penalty, considering that the tax deposit was only $3,930. That's a pretty big percent penalty there if you calculated that out. So it's very important for you to file on time so that you won't have these types of penalties. This is how you calculate the penalties if you're asked a question about that on the test. So I'm going to stop sharing this with you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.